Hey, I just wanted to make a quick video because I kind of had a thought I wanted to share with you guys. I haven't been journaling very much for quite some time for a variety of reasons, and I just was really missing it a lot. Um, and so today I sat down to do it, and I really wanted to sit down, at my desk where I have all my stamps and inks and have a little, actually special Ghirardelli journaling chocolate in here. Just my little space to do some journaling on my own. And I was struggling a lot to write. I didn't know what to write about it, and I just remember feeling really sad. And of course, also I had I was putting on a video for inspiration because it's very quiet. I like to have something in the background. I put on the Journal CEO. She had a video about, interestingly enough, like depression and journaling slumps, and just a lot of the stuff she was talking about. Like, I couldn't relate to all of it, obviously. I'm not clinically depressed by any means, but it just kind of resonated with me. And it just, I don't know, it was kind of a gloomy mood for a bit. And as I was writing, I actually, let's see if I can show you this. There's some personal information on the page a little bit. I put this piece of paper that says refresh, relax, recharge in kind of as an afterthought, and I was like, oh man, that looks dumb. I can't cut in a straight line. It's taking up the whole page. Why am I wasting my time like this? And I put the tape around the edge, and the more I looked at it and the more I worked on it, I started to really feel this peace and this comforting feeling that took me back to why I wanted to keep journaling. Like, it's a feeling I used to get from journaling, and I wasn't getting that feeling when I started writing. And it took it a second to come back, and I was trying to understand why this picture made such a difference to me. And I think it is because it takes up the whole page the way that it does. And that's why I was showing this particular spread, is because it's a good example of what I'm trying to explain. Like, in my opinion, a journal is a place. It's not just an object. It's a location. It's a mental location, but it's also a very physical location. And I used to carry my journal around in my backpack every single day, all throughout college. I always had it with me, and it was almost like a security blanket. Like, I just wanted to know it was there. I wanted to hold it. I needed to know it was there. But recently, I've sort of stopped carrying it with me. I used to always take it in my work bag, even though obviously I'm not journaling at my desk at work or anything like that. But I stopped because I was like, what's the point? I'm not going to use it. It's just adding weight to my bag. Might as well just leave it on my desk. And I think that subliminally, that's kind of when the disconnect started, because it stopped being this place and it became like an activity. And when I say that, I mean, the journal exists for two purposes in my mind. It exists to, serve the purpose of being a blank set of pages where I can write my thoughts down. And it serves the purpose of being someplace that I can decorate and customize. I'm going to return to these points because I think that sometimes when I'm talking about the first point, the writing part, to me it's almost like homework or memory keeping or like something I have to do to fill up the pages. If I get into that mentality, then that defeats the purpose of journaling. And this is something I've been talking about with my therapist actually a lot, is rather than doing something to achieve an end goal or to fill up a journal or to do something creative, which is kind of the quota I had been trying to fill with this writing, you can do things just for the experience of doing them. So with journaling, yeah, it's great if you can write memories and keep them and look back later. But what's more important is getting your feelings out and like just feeling the pen on the page and having that moment where you're just writing because it feels good and it's what you need to do in the moment. Like, you need that feeling, you need that catharsis. It's not about what's going to be there after. I mean, that's a nice side effect sometimes. Sometimes it's a less pleasant side effect if you write something kind of ugly. I mean, heaven knows there are entries I avoid looking back on. But if you're writing for the sake of creating something, it's going to put pressure on you, and you're going to lose the purpose of journaling. You need to write for the sake of writing because it feels good, because it's an outlet, and because you enjoy doing it. And so that's one purpose it serves. Another purpose it serves is, well, wait, just to go back on to the writing thing, because I want to touch on this too. If I'm avoiding, like, sometimes there are things I want to write about because it'd be fun to write about them, but there's no real purpose. It's not really therapeutic in my mind, or, it's not really memory keeping, or it's rehashing something I've already talked about, or it just seems kind of pointless and out of place and out of my aesthetic in a way. I've realized I've gotten more picky about what I write about, not even out of censorship because I'm ashamed of my feelings, just because I want it to look or read a certain way. That's really damaging, because then I'm not having fun writing. So I just need to write what's fun. So maybe that's going to be a little excerpt of a short story. Yeah, that doesn't belong in my journal per se. That should be in maybe a different notebook per se, but I want to write it and I'm going to write it. So there it goes, and I can always take it out later. And actually, I do have a lot of short stories in my journals, and they're not just there to be creative works of art. The reason I wanted to write them was because there was something I needed to say, and that was the way I needed to say it. And that's how I ended up feeling heard and having that cathartic experience that the journal is supposed to bring. All right, so that's the writing portion, but the decorating portion is, I was also feeling weird about that when I started again. I was like, I guess I should put some stickers down and some paper. Is that how I do this? And I was kind of going through the motions. And it wasn't until I put that big relax sign on that I really felt the old feeling of creating. It's like decorating your bedroom. Like, I'm not just putting something there to enjoy it for a second and then flip forward and keep writing. It's not something to do for the sake of doing it. I'm creating something I can look at, or somewhere that I can be, that is going to be relaxing to me, that's going to bring me joy, that's going to make me forget about the things that are weighing on my mind. Because all of this ties back, all this stuff about being in the moment, it really ties back to anxiety. If you're experiencing anxiety, it's usually the root of it is that you, and I learned this in therapy, I didn't always know this, the root is that you can't force yourself. The root is that you're not able to live in the moment. You're either focusing on the past, something you said that was embarrassing either 5 minutes ago or 15 years ago, or something you could have done differently and all your regrets and everything, or you're worrying about the future. What am I going to have for dinner? What's going to happen at my performance review? What am I going to do about this friendship or whatever? That stuff, if you can just be in the moment and like, okay, I feel that I'm sitting on a chair. I feel my breath coming in and out of my body. I am tasting a nice cold glass of Coke. Those sorts of things are, sorry, I just got a text that distracted me. See, it's distractions. Like, you feel anxiety, and the journal, when you're somewhere that you can just, like, when I look at this page, this one isn't as much of the effect. This one I kind of made because it looked good for the purpose of creating something that looked aesthetic for Instagram, I guess. Even though I didn't post this on Instagram, I think I was trying to actually impress somebody when I made it, which is kind of embarrassing because that's not what journaling is about. But when I look at this, even this, it's like I'm somewhere else. I'm here, and I'm looking at these images, and this is a very tactile page. I can feel it. And there's a verse here that is very true. And I can just get away for a second and be somewhere else and sort of go into my own head in a very calming and peaceful way. And I'm not worrying about, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? I need to do my exercises. I need to cook dinner, blah, blah, blah. I'm not worrying about, oh, what about that thing I said to my coworker earlier today? Or, oh, what shouldn't I be doing something? Like, none of that is in my head. I'm just here. I made this for me, and I know how to enjoy it better than anybody. So I'm going to look at this. I'm going to be there. So for a call to action, let me just encourage you to use your journal as a vehicle to be in the moment. Create a spread for yourself, but don't just use it to check off a box of, oh, I made my spread for today, because I know I've done that before. Use it as a way to not even just express yourself, but to create something that you can use later to ground yourself. Because I know that, I don't know if I can just find it. Well, this is another good example. I know that if I come back to this page here, I will feel the same way again, and I'm going to be really relaxed and calm, and I'm going to be in that moment. And finding ways to be in that moment gets more and more difficult the older I get, the more trouble I have with anxiety. So whatever works for you, you just got to give it a go. So I definitely recommend taking this approach to journaling instead of viewing it as a productive activity. So thanks for coming to my TED Talk, and I will talk to you later.